We sold your car and cashed out your college fund. Your brother deserves a fresh start. That was the first thing I heard on my 19th birthday. No happy birthday, no candles, no joke about me almost being 20. Just that sentence, dropped on the kitchen table like a bomb. I was still in my pajamas, hair a mess, feet freezing on the tile. I had come downstairs because I smelled coffee and dared to hope there was a cake box hiding somewhere. Instead, there was a stack of papers. My mom sat on one side of the table, hands folded too neatly, eyes a little too bright, like she had practiced this speech in the mirror. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline. It did not come. She pushed the top sheet toward me. "This is a loan agreement," she said. "Your brother owes $25,000. If you co-sign, the bank will restructure it. If you don't, we cannot afford both of you under this roof anymore." My name was already typed on the dotted line, like my decision was just a formality. My throat tightened. "You sold my car," I repeated slowly. That old car was not much, but it was mine. I had worked nights and weekends to help pay it off. "And my college fund? We had no choice," she said. "He needs a chance to fix his life. You are smart. You will figure something out. This is what family does. We all sacrifice. Family. Sacrifice." Interesting choice of words for people who had just pawned off my future like it was a spare lamp in the garage. I wanted to scream. I wanted to flip the table, rip the papers, ask her if she ever once thought of what I wanted. But her eyes were already hardening, like she was bracing for an argument she had decided not to lose. So I did the one thing she did not expect. I did not argue. I picked up the papers, my hands steady even though my heart was pounding. I scanned the lines, felt the weight of the trap she was setting for me, and calmly set them back down. "I hear you," I said quietly. Her shoulders relaxed a fraction, mistaking my silence for obedience. But in my head, something snapped into place. If they could decide my future without asking, then I could decide theirs without warning. They thought this was the day they backed me into a corner. They had no idea it was the day I started planning my exit. This is only the opening move in a family betrayal that will turn my birthday into the day everything changes. If you think selling my car and cashing out my college fund is the worst thing they do, wait until you see how far they push me and what I do when I finally push back. Stay tuned. I did not sign anything at that table. I carried the loan agreement upstairs like it was a dead animal I could not quite bring myself to drop. My mom called my name once, then again, sharper, but I kept walking. My bedroom door clicked shut behind me, and the moment the latch caught, the mask slipped. My hands started shaking. I pressed my back against the door and slid down to the floor, the papers crumpling in my fist. 19. On my birthday. They had already sold my car without telling me. They had already emptied the account I had stared at 100 times, whispering, "That is my way out." And now they wanted me to chain myself to someone else's debt on top of it. I could have cried. Instead, I opened my closet. Suitcase first, then the small duffel bag. I moved automatically, like my body had rehearsed this moment in secret for years. Essentials only. Clothes I actually wore. My laptop. Notebooks filled with unfinished stories. The worn paperback I reread when I needed to remember there was a world beyond this house. Chargers, toothbrush, a folder of documents I kept in a shoebox under my bed. My birth certificate, my social security card, the last printed statement of my college fund from before I stopped checking because looking hurt too much. I glanced at the numbers. They had seemed small but precious back then, built from scholarship deposits and prize money. Enough to make community college feel like a springboard instead of a dead end. Now, they were just proof of what I had lost. A knock sounded at my door. My mom's voice came through, too bright. "Have you looked over the papers? We need to go to the bank this afternoon." My heart pounded, but my voice came out calm. "I am reading them," I said. Not a lie. I did read them. Every line. Every clause about what would happen if the primary borrower defaulted. Every sentence that tied my name to his mistakes, my credit to his record. Inside, a cold clarity settled in. If I signed this, I was done. No apartment, no student loans in my own name, no clean break. Ever. I set the contract on my desk and opened my laptop instead. First search, co-signing loan risks. Then, what happens if you refuse to co-sign family debt? Then, when my stomach twisted, legally obligated if name already printed but not signed. The answer was simple. If I did not sign, I was not responsible. They knew that. That was why they were pushing so hard. Another knock, louder this time. "We do not have all day," my mom snapped. "The bank closes at 4. I need some air," I called back. "I am going to the library to think." "She can drive you," she started, then stopped herself, and the silence between us said it all. I did not have a car anymore. "Fine," she muttered. "Take the bus. But do not be dramatic, Lily. We are trying to fix this." Right. They burnt my bridge, and now I was the one being dramatic for not wanting to drown with them. I shoved my laptop into my backpack, along with the loan agreement and my folder of documents. I grabbed my jacket and slung the straps over my shoulder. When I opened my door, my mom was standing in the hallway, arms folded. "You know this is not easy for any of us," she said. "Your brother is scared out of his mind. He made mistakes, but he is family. We do not abandon family." "Good," I said, meeting her eyes for the first time since the kitchen. "Then you will understand what it feels like when family abandons you." Her face tightened. "Do not start. We did what we had to do. You are strong. You will be fine." "I will," I agreed. "Just maybe not in the way you think." She did not like that answer, but she stepped aside. I walked past her, down the stairs, through the front door without looking back. The air outside was cold and sharp in my lungs. It felt like the first honest breath I had taken in months. The bus ride to the library blurred by in a haze of fluorescent light and strangers' conversations. Every time my phone buzzed, my stomach knotted. By the time I sat down at a corner table, it was already vibrating nonstop. "Mom," unknown number. Then the name I had been avoiding. My brother. I stared at the screen until it stopped. Then it started again. Finally, I swiped to answer. "Where are you?" he demanded, voice rough, like he had been crying or yelling. "She said you walked out. You cannot just disappear like that. We have a meeting at the bank." "I am at the library," I said, thinking. "Thinking about what?" "You just have to sign, and they will restructure. It is not a big deal." Not a big deal. $25,000 tied to my name, to someone who had already proven they did not care about consequences. "You know what it means if I sign," I said quietly. "You know you cannot promise you will not mess up again." Silence crackled on the line. "This is my second chance," he said finally. "You are supposed to have my back. I had your back when you tanked your first semester and Mom used my savings to keep you enrolled. I had your back when you wrecked your old car and they dipped into my fund to pay the difference. At some point, I am not your safety net. I am just the ground you keep smashing into." "That is not fair," he shot back. But there was panic under the anger now. "You are overreacting. Mom said if you walk away from this, you walk away from us." "Maybe she should have thought about that before she sold my car," I said. "Listen, I am not signing. I am not putting my name on your debt. Not this time. Not ever." "You do not mean that," he whispered. But I did. For the first time I did. I ended the call before he could argue. My hands were steady now, steadier than they had been all morning, because the decision was made. I was done begging for a place in a family that had already chosen who was worth saving. This is where the line is drawn. Either I keep sacrificing myself for a brother who never learns, or I finally bet on my own future. You have heard what my mom put on the table. You have heard what I refused to sign. But you have not seen what happens when I stop playing by their rules and start quietly rewriting the script. Do not go anywhere. Once the decision not to sign solidified in my chest, The fear shifted. It did not disappear, but it changed shape, from a vague dread into something sharper and almost useful. If I was not going to be their bailout, I needed to know exactly what they had already done in my name. Information first, emotion later. I spread my papers out on the library table. The loan agreement, my old statements, the scholarship award letters I had printed from my own scrapbook. On my laptop, I opened my online banking and student portal accounts. Passwords I had memorized months ago suddenly felt like lifelines. The balance where my college fund should have been was brutally clear. 0. Not a cent. I scrolled back through the transaction history. Withdrawals, transfers, fees. The dates lined up with the times my brother had emergencies. A tuition shortfall here, a medical bill there, a mysterious credit card payoff that I knew did not belong to me. It was not just one desperate decision, it was a pattern. Quiet withdrawals made behind my back, each one wrapped in the same excuse. We will fix it later. You will understand when you are older. Well, I was older, and I understood perfectly. I opened another tab and started searching again. Legal rights, misused funds family, parent drained college fund options, financial aid appeal when savings stolen. The results were messy and terrifying, but buried in the noise were threads I could actually grab onto. I learned that the account had technically been in my name, but my mom had joint access as the initial adult custodian. Morally, it was theft. Legally, it was a gray area unless I took it to court, and even then the outcome was uncertain. But there was one thing I knew for sure. If they thought I would quietly shoulder debt after they drained my savings, they were counting on me being scared and ignorant. I was scared. I was no longer ignorant. A soft thump pulled me out of the spiral. A coffee cup slid onto the table in front of me. I looked up to see my friend standing there, eyebrows pulled together. I tried texting, she said. You ignored me, so I hunted you down. Happy birthday, I guess. I huffed out a humorless laugh. You picked a great day to visit the crime scene. She glanced at the chaos of papers, then at my face. Okay, that is not a midterms kind of mess. That is a my life just exploded kind of mess. Talk. So I did. Not all at once, but in jagged pieces. The car, the fund, the loan, the ultimatum. Her expression shifted from confused to horrified to furious. They did what? She demanded, too loud for the quiet floor. A few people looked up. She lowered her voice, but not the intensity. You are not actually considering signing, right? I am not signing, I said. Saying it out loud made it more real. But if I do not, they say I have to leave. She sat down hard. So leave. It is my home, I shot back automatically. Then I stopped. Is it? My home had become a place where my worth was measured in what I could sacrifice. She leaned in, elbows on the table. You have been talking about getting out since we were 15. You have grades, talent, scholarships. You are the only one in that house who seems remotely prepared for adulthood. You do not need them to choose you. Choose yourself. I do not have a car. I do not have savings. I do not have rent money, I pointed out. All I have is a duffel bag, a suitcase, and a brain that may or may not be worth anything to admissions committees. She rolled her eyes. Stop. You have more than you think. You have me. I have a couch. My parents like you more than they like my brothers. We can figure out rent and part-time jobs later. And you can appeal your financial aid. You just need proof you are not the one who emptied the account. I glanced at the screen. I have timestamps. I have statements. I can request full records from the bank. An idea began to form, sharp and dangerous. If they think I am just going to sit there and act grateful, they are in for a surprise. Her lips curled into a grim smile. Revenge via adulthood. I like it. It is not about revenge, I said, but even I did not fully believe it. It is about not letting them bury me with someone else's debt. Call it whatever you want, she said. But you are allowed to be angry. You are allowed to protect yourself. That does not make you selfish. It makes you sane. My phone buzzed again. Mom, then brother, then mom again. No messages, just calls. I powered it off. Okay, I said. Step 1. I need every piece of paper that proves what they did. Step 2. I need to talk to the financial aid office and explain before they assume I am lying. Step 3. I swallowed. Step 3 is figuring out where I actually live if I follow through. You can crash at my place tonight, she said without hesitation. If your family blows up your birthday, the least I can do is give you a bed and cheap takeout. The knot in my chest loosened a fraction. You sure? Absolutely. My mom has been waiting for an excuse to adopt you for years. I smiled, a real one this time. Then I guess step 4 is telling my family I am not going to the bank with them, and that I am not coming back the way they expect. Do you want backup? She asked. I thought about her standing in my living room, watching my mom try to guilt me into signing away my future. I thought about my brother's excuses, my dad's silence. No, this part needed to be mine. I need to do it alone, I said. But if it goes badly, I might show up at your door with more luggage than you bargained for. She lifted her coffee in a mock toast. 2 worst-case scenarios becoming better than whatever this is. I clinked my cup against hers. By the time I left the library, my fear had teeth and a spine. It was still there, but it was not in charge anymore. I knew what I would say when I walked back into that house. I knew which lines I would not cross. And for the first time, I knew that if they forced me to choose, I would choose me. You have seen the ultimatum they gave me and the decision I made. What you have not seen yet is what happens when I walk back into that house, not as their silent backup plan, but as someone ready to expose exactly what they have done and refuse to play along. The next part is where the real cracks start to show. Keep watching. Walking back into the house that evening felt like stepping onto a stage where everyone else had rehearsed their lines and I had decided to improvise. The lights were on. The TV droned in the background. My suitcase and duffel bag were still hidden under my bed upstairs, half packed. The loan agreement was in my backpack, next to printed copies of the most incriminating statements I could download before the printer at the library cried for mercy. My mom was at the kitchen table again, phone in hand, the way she had been that morning. My brother paced in front of the sink, running his fingers through his hair. The moment they saw me, 2 very different expressions crossed their faces. Relief on his, tight irritation on hers. You finally decided to come back, she said. We missed the bank appointment because of you. You missed it because you scheduled it without asking me, I replied, shrugging off my jacket. I never agreed to go. You do not have a choice, she snapped. You live here. You eat our food, sleep under our roof. When we ask you to help your brother, you help. It is funny you say our when it was my fund you emptied, I said. Her eyes flashed. Do not start. Too late. I unzipped my backpack and spread the papers on the table between us. I already did. My brother edged closer, peering down at the pages. What is all this? Printouts, I said. From my account. The one that was supposed to be for my education. I tapped a line with my finger. Here is the withdrawal from 2 years ago when my car needed repairs. You told me you were covering it because you wanted me to be safe. Instead, you took it from the only savings I had. Another line. Here is the payment to cover your failed classes, the ones you promised to retake and pass. You did not. Another. Here is the payoff on a credit card I never opened. Funny how it lines up with the week you suddenly could not remember where all your money went. My mom's face drained of color, then flushed an angry red. You have no right to dig through our finances, she hissed. Our, I repeated. You mean mine? That account was in my name. You had access because I trusted you. You did not just use it once in an emergency. You drained it slowly, over years. And you never told me the truth. My brother swallowed hard. Mom, is that what you did? She turned on him instantly. Do not you dare look at me like that. Everything I did was to keep this family afloat, to keep you in school, to keep this house, to keep food on the table, and to keep me in the dark," I added. The living room door opened, and my dad stepped in, drawn by the sharp edges of our voices. He looked tired, like always, briefcase still in hand. "What is going on?" he asked. I slid one of the statements toward him. "Did you know about this?" He scanned it, his forehead furrowing deeper with each line. When he looked up, his expression was a mixture of confusion and guilt. "I knew we were using some of the savings," he admitted slowly. "I thought it was temporary. I did not realize how much had gone." "You did not ask," I said. "You just signed whatever she put in front of you." My mom's chair scraped back as she stood. "Do not blame him. He works himself to the bone for us. I am the one who handles the day-to-day. I made hard choices. That is what parents do." "No," I said. "Parents protect their kids. They do not gamble one child's future to bail out another's mistakes and then act like it is noble." The room went quiet. My brother sank into a chair, staring at the statements as if they were written in a language he had never seen before. "So what now?" my dad asked, voice low. "You want us to apologize?" "We are sorry. Truly. But the money is gone. We cannot change that." "I know," I said. "I am not asking you to magically put the money back." My mom exhaled, relieved for a second until I continued. "I am telling you, I will not fix it by chaining myself to a $25,000 loan." Her mouth fell open. "You think you can just refuse? You think you can walk away from your family because you are angry?" "I think I can refuse to sign a legal document that makes me responsible for debt that is not mine," I answered. "And if the price of that is you telling me to leave, then yes, I can walk away." My brother's voice cracked. "You cannot mean that. You would really just go?" I looked at him. Really looked. At the boy who had been my partner in crime when we were kids, who used to sneak me extra cookies when our mom was in a mood. At the young man who had slowly turned into a walking crisis, always needing one more bailout, one more excuse. "I mean that I will not spend my 20s cleaning up messes you will not stop making," I said. "I love you, but I am done being your insurance policy." He dropped his gaze, shame flickering across his features. My mom stepped closer, lowering her voice into the tone she used when she wanted to sound reasonable. "Lily, listen. You are emotional right now. You are hurt. I understand. But this is not how the real world works. Out there, nobody is going to help you. At least here, you have us. If you sign, we can get through this together." "Together," I repeated. "Like when you sold my car without asking, or when you emptied my account, or when you made a birthday breakfast into a debt negotiation?" Her jaw clenched. "It was never going to be enough for college anyway. You would have needed loans. This just moves that timeline up." "No," I said. "This moves the timeline up on me realizing exactly where I stand in this family." My dad set the papers down, rubbing his temples. "What do you want, Lily?" "I want my name off anything that is not mine," I said. "I want you to stop using me as a solution to problems I did not create. I want the chance to build a future that is not tied to a credit score you helped destroy before I even started." "And if we cannot give you that?" my mom asked, her voice icy now. "Then I will leave," I said simply. "I have a friend whose family will let me stay while I figure things out. I will talk to the financial aid office. I will find a job. I will do what you always told me to do. Be strong." "You would take our business outside this house?" she asked, scandalized. "You would tell strangers our private problems? You would humiliate us like that?" I almost laughed. "You sold my future to protect your image. You are worried about humiliation now?" Her hand trembled on the back of the chair. For a second, I thought she might slap me. Instead, she pointed toward the hallway. "If you walk out that door," she said, "do not expect to walk back in." All eyes were on me, waiting, expecting me to back down like I always did, to apologize, to agree to something that made me sick just to keep the peace. I picked up the loan agreement, folded it neatly, and slid it back across the table. Then maybe you should get used to looking at that without my signature, I said. This is the moment the balance shifts. They are no longer quietly using me, and I am no longer quietly letting them. You have seen the evidence on the table and the ultimatum at the door, but what happens when I actually pack my bags and call their bluff will change more than a few bank statements. The real fallout is just beginning. Stay close. The house did not explode that night. In some ways, that was worse. Instead of a screaming match or dramatic exits, we drifted into a cold, brittle silence. My mom retreated to her bedroom, slamming the door only once. My dad disappeared into his office. My brother vanished into the glow of his screen, thumbs flying over his phone, probably texting friends about how his life was over. I stayed at the table for a long time, staring at the loan agreement like it was a snake in a glass box. Dangerous, but contained. As long as I did not open it. Eventually, I gathered the papers, slid them back into my backpack, and went upstairs. My room looked the same as it had that morning. Posters on the walls, the stack of books I had been meaning to read, the chipped mug on my nightstand. But now, every familiar object felt temporary. Borrowed. I pulled the suitcase and duffel bag out from under the bed and finished what I had started. Clothes, rolled tight, notebooks, laptop, chargers. The shoebox of documents went in last. I left behind the things that would not fit. The stuffed animal I had since I was 6, the framed photo of my family at a theme park before everything got so complicated, the trophies my mom insisted we keep on display even after the plastic started to yellow. At the bottom of the drawer, I found the keys to the car that was no longer mine. The dealership probably had it parked in a lot already, price sticker slapped on the window. I held the keys in my hand for a moment, feeling the ghost of the steering wheel under my fingers, the way freedom had once sounded like the rattling engine and bad radio reception. Then I set the keys on my desk. They were useless to me now. My phone buzzed on my pillow. A text from my friend. My parents said it is fine. We cleared the couch. Come over whenever you are ready. We have pizza and ice cream. Birthday emergency kit. My chest tightened with gratitude and grief in equal measure. This was not the 19th birthday I had imagined, but maybe it was the one I needed. I texted back, I am leaving in the morning. It would have been easier to sneak out that night, to slip away while everyone slept, avoiding one last confrontation. But that was how I had lived my whole life in this house. Quiet, careful, invisible. If I was really going to change, I had to be visible at least once. I had to say the words out loud, so I set my alarm early and lay in the dark, listening to the muffled sounds of my family moving around the house, the creak of floorboards, the TV turning off, a door closing, another, voices rising, then fading. At some point, my brother knocked on my door. Come in, I said. He cracked it open, then stepped inside, hands jammed in the pockets of his hoodie. You really are not going to sign? He asked, skipping hello. No, I said. He swallowed. They are freaking out. I know. They keep saying you will change your mind, he continued, eyes flicking to the half-packed bags. They think you are just making a point. I am, I said. The point is that I am done letting them make decisions for me and pretending it is love. His shoulders sagged. You are really going to leave? For real? I took a breath. For real. He sank onto the edge of my bed, staring at the floor. What am I supposed to do? Figure it out, I said, softer than I felt. Like I have always had to. He winced. That is not fair. Neither is any of this, I replied. But I am not the one who gambled with your tuition, or racked up credit card debt, or ignored every warning sign until it became a 5-figure problem. I am allowed to refuse to drown with you. He looked up, eyes shining. Are you going to hate me? The question hit harder than I expected. I do not hate you, I said. I hate what you did. I hate that you keep letting Mom clean up your messes by burning my life down. I hate that you never asked what it cost me when they used my fund for your emergencies. I did not know it was that bad, he whispered. You did not want to know, I corrected, because then you would have had to feel guilty. Congratulations. Now you do. He flinched like I had hit him, but he did not argue. Do you really think you can do this on your own? He asked. There was genuine fear in his voice now, but for once it was not about his problems. It was about mine. Yes, I said. Or at least I am willing to try. I would rather struggle on my own terms than stay here and pretend this is normal. He nodded slowly, then stood up. He paused at the door, hand on the knob. If you go, he said, everything is going to fall apart. I know, I said. Maybe it needs to. When he left, I locked the door and sat on the edge of my bed, heart hammering. Part of me wanted to run after him, to take it all back, to pretend I could live with this if it meant keeping things familiar. But familiar was killing me. Morning came too fast. The alarm shrieked at 6. I dressed in jeans and a hoodie, the same clothes I wore when I had to present in class and wanted to look like I had it together. I zipped my suitcase, hoisted my duffel over my shoulder, and took one last look around the room. Then I opened the door. The hallway was quiet. My parents were already awake. I could hear low voices in the kitchen. My brother's door was shut. Light seeped out from the crack at the bottom. Step by step, I went downstairs. My mom stood at the counter with a coffee mug, eyes red-rimmed. My dad sat at the table, the loan agreement in front of him. Neither of them spoke at first. Finally, my dad cleared his throat. You are really doing this? Yes, I said. My mom's eyes flicked to the bags. So that is it? You are just leaving. After everything we did for you, something in me snapped. Everything you did for me? I repeated. You mean the years of telling me to work hard, save, be responsible, and then using my savings without telling me? Selling my car behind my back? Turning my birthday into a debt negotiation? That everything? She flinched. You are ungrateful. I am awake, I said. There is a difference. My dad pushed the loan agreement toward me. If you sign, you do not have to go, he said quietly. We can figure this out together. I will figure it out, I said. I just will not do it as collateral. He looked down, shoulders sagging. He knew on some level that I was right. But knowing and choosing to act on it were different battles. My mom put her mug down with a sharp clink. If you walk out that door, she said, repeating last night's line like a script, do not expect us to rescue you when the real world chews you up. I do not, I said. That is kind of the point. I set my house key on the table. The small metal sound felt louder than any shout. I will be in touch, I added, when I am ready. Then I picked up my bags and walked to the door. My hands were steady on the knob. Behind me, my mom said my name one last time, a wobble in her voice that almost undid me. Almost. I opened the door and stepped out into the morning air. It was colder than I expected, but it tasted clean. My phone buzzed as I walked down the driveway. A notification from my bank. Another from my email. A missed call from an unknown number. I did not know yet that by the time I reached my friend's house, there would be voicemails waiting. That the bank would call again. That my brother would send a flood of messages that started with anger and ended with pure panic, because without my signature, his second chance was collapsing faster than anyone had planned. All I knew in that moment was that for the first time in my life, I was walking towards something that was mine, instead of away from something that belonged to everyone else. This is where my quiet packing turns into a decision nobody in that house believed I would actually make. I have stepped out the door, but you have not seen what happens when the bank calls back. When my brother realizes I was the only thing keeping his life from imploding, and when my mom's control starts to slip in ways she never imagined. I did not cry until I was 3 blocks away from the house. It hit me at a bus stop, of all places. 1 second, I was dragging my suitcase over cracked pavement. The next, my vision blurred and my throat burned. I sat down on the cold metal bench and buried my face in my hands, breathing through the ache. I was not crying because I regretted leaving. I was crying because it should never have come to this. By the time I reached my friend's house, I had mostly pulled myself together. Her mom opened the door before I could knock twice. There she is," she said, pulling me into a hug that smelled like laundry detergent and coffee. "Happy birthday, sweetheart. Rough one, huh?" My voice wobbled. "You have no idea." "Actually," she said gently, "I think I do. Come in. We will figure this out." The couch was already made up with clean sheets and a ridiculous number of pillows. There was pizza on the coffee table and a cheap grocery store cake with my name scribbled on top in slightly crooked blue icing. Someone had stuck 19 candles into it, unlit. "We were not sure if you would make it," my friend admitted, lighting a match. "But we thought, just in case." I stared at the cake, at the tiny flames flickering to life. 19 wishes, if you believed in that sort of thing. I did not really. But I closed my eyes anyway and made exactly one. Let this not be for nothing. When I blew out the candles, the room smelled like smoke and sugar and something like possibility. We ate pizza and cake and watched some stupid show none of us really paid attention to. My phone sat on the coffee table, screen down. I could feel it buzzing intermittently, like a heartbeat out of rhythm. "You can check it," my friend said finally. "Or you can turn it off again. Your choice." I flipped it over. Missed calls, voicemails, texts. "Mom. Call me back right now." "Mom. I am serious. Young lady." "Dad. Please let us know you are safe." "Brother. What are you doing?" "Brother. They are losing it." "Brother. The bank called." That last one made my stomach drop. I opened his message. "Brother. They said you did not show and never signed. They are saying I do not qualify for restructuring without a cosigner. If this goes to collections, I am screwed." Another ping. "Brother, you have to fix this, please." I stared at the screen until the words blurred. Then I took a slow breath and typed back. "Me. I told you I was not signing. I meant it. Me. You need to talk to them yourself and figure out what your options are." The reply came fast. "Brother, there are no options. They said my credit is already trash. They will tack on fees. They can sue. You do not understand." My chest tightened. I did understand. That was the point. "Me. I am sorry you are scared, but I am not tying myself to your debt. I am done being the backup plan." There was a long pause, then one final message. "Brother, if this ruins my life, it is on you." The words were like a punch, but under the hurt, a colder thought settled. "No, it is on you. You made the choices. I am just refusing to hide the consequences." I put the phone down. "You okay?" my friend asked quietly. "No," I said honestly, "but I am not going back." "Good," she said. "Sometimes not okay is still better than what you left." The next few days blurred into a new kind of routine. I slept on the couch, woke up early, and spent hours on the phone and in front of a screen, untangling the mess my parents had wrapped around my life. First, the bank. The loan officer sounded surprised when I called. "You are the co-signer?" he asked. "I was supposed to be," I said, "but I have not signed anything, and I am not going to." "I wanted to make sure that is clear on your end." He hesitated. "Our records show your name on the documents, but if you have not signed, you are not legally obligated yet. However, your parents used my college fund for his debt without my consent." I cut in. "I am 19. I did not authorize any of those withdrawals." There was a pause. I could almost hear him recalibrating. "Ma'am, I am not in a position to weigh in on family financial disputes," he said finally. "But if you believe your funds were misused, you may want to speak to an attorney or financial counselor. As for this loan, if you do not sign, your brother remains solely responsible. We will be in contact with him directly." "Good," I said. "That is how it should be." Hanging up felt like cutting the last thread they had tried to loop around my neck. Next, the financial aid office. I made an appointment and took a bus across town to campus, clutching a folder packed with statements and printouts. The counselor was a woman with kind eyes and a tired posture that said she had seen too many stories like mine. "So," she said after I finished, "your parents drained your college savings that were in a custodial account and now expect you to take on additional debt in your name to cover your siblings' loans." "Pretty much," I said, the words flat from overuse. She sighed. "I am sorry. That is a lot." "Can I do anything?" I asked. "Or am I just stuck paying for their choices for the rest of my life?" "Well," she said slowly, "we cannot give legal advice, but in terms of financial aid, there are some options. Most students under 24 are considered dependent, which means we use parental income and assets. However, in cases of abuse or unusual circumstances, we can file a dependency override. It is not guaranteed, but..." She tapped the folder between us. "This," she said, "is a lot of documentation." Hope flickered, small, but stubborn. "What would that mean exactly?" "It would mean we evaluate you based on your own financial situation, not your parents'," she explained. "You would need to write a statement describing what happened. We might ask for letters from third parties who are aware of your situation, a counselor, a teacher, a family friend. But if it is approved, your aid package could change significantly." "And my parents?" I asked. She looked at me steadily. "They would not have the same access to your information anymore, and you would not be expected to rely on them financially." A breath I had not realized I was holding left my lungs all at once. "I want to do that," I said. "Whatever it takes. I am done being their resource." "Okay," she said. "We will start the paperwork." When I stepped back out into the sunlight, the campus looked different. Not magical, not fixed, but possible. I went straight to the student jobs office. By the end of the week, I had an interview for a part-time position shelving books at the library and another for working the front desk at a residence hall. It was not glamorous. It was not enough on its own, but it was something. While my future was being rebuilt from scratch, my family's carefully constructed illusion was crumbling. The voicemails from my mom shifted tone over time. The first few were pure anger. "How dare you involve strangers?" she snapped in one. "Do you know how this makes us look? You are airing dirty laundry all over town." I had mentioned what happened to the counselor and to a trusted teacher who agreed to write a letter for my appeal. Word spread, like it always does in small communities. The next batch of messages were guilt trips. "We sacrificed so much for you," she said. "Do you think we wanted to use that money? We had no choice. You are tearing this family apart." Then came the panic. "The bank is calling non-stop," she said, voice shaking. "Your brother is falling apart. They are saying things about collections and garnishment. We would not be in this position if you had just signed like we asked." I listened to that one twice, then deleted it. My brother's texts swung wildly between blame and desperation. "You ruined everything. Please, I am begging you. Just sign this one and I swear I will change. If they take me to court, it is on you. I cannot sleep. I cannot eat. I screwed up, okay? Is that what you want to hear? Just fix it." I typed and erased a dozen replies before sending the only one that mattered. "Me. I hope you do change. But that is on you. Not on me." His last message came late one night. "Brother. They said if I do not work out a payment plan, they can garnish wages when I get a job. I do not know what I am supposed to do." Me. "Get a job. Make a plan. Talk to a counselor. Stop pretending this is happening to you instead of because of you." He did not answer. Days turned into weeks. I got the job at the library. I spent evenings reshelving books and mornings filling out forms and writing my statement for the aid office. "I love my family," I wrote, "but they have repeatedly used my resources without my consent to solve problems I did not create, and when I refused to sacrifice any further, they threatened to make me homeless. I am asking to be evaluated as an independent student so I can pursue my education without being financially bound to their choices." I did not use the word revenge anywhere, but as I sealed the envelope, I realized something. This was revenge. Not the dramatic movie kind with screaming and courtroom showdowns. A quieter kind, where I stopped playing the role they wrote for me and started writing my own. Where the consequences they had been shielding themselves from finally landed where they belonged. Not on me, on them. You have now seen the first cracks. The bank calling, the aid office listening, my family's control slipping through their fingers. But the real impact does not hit until later. When decisions on paper turn into changes in real life, when their world shrinks while mine slowly expands, and when I have to decide what kind of relationship, if any, I still want with the people who sold my future. The email from the financial aid office came on a Tuesday afternoon while I was on my break at the library. Subject: Dependency Override Decision. My hands shook as I clicked it open. Dear Lily, it began. After reviewing your documentation and personal statement, the committee has approved your request for a dependency override. Your financial aid package has been recalculated based on your independent status. Please log into your student portal to view the updated award. I read the words 3 times before they sank in. Approved. Independent. I fumbled my login, heart racing, then finally got in. The numbers were different now. More grants, more subsidized aid, less reliance on parental contribution. There were still loans, still costs, still practical problems. But for the first time, my ability to stay in school did not hinge on whether my mother picked up the phone or my brother stayed out of trouble. I did not realize I was crying until my friend appeared behind the circulation desk with a wad of napkins. Good news? She asked. The best, I said, wiping my face. They believed me. I get to stay. She hugged me so hard I almost dropped my phone. That night, we celebrated with cheap takeout and a movie we barely watched. I slept better than I had in months. Meanwhile, my family situation continued to deteriorate. From what little I heard, through my dad's sporadic, careful texts and the occasional reluctant update from neighbors, the bank had refused to restructure without a cosigner. My brother had tried to negotiate, but could not offer anything that convinced them he would not default again. Late fees piled up. Collection letters started arriving. The house phone, which almost never rang when I lived there, became a constant background noise. They keep calling during dinner, my dad wrote in one message. Your mom is not handling it well. I did not gloat. I did not have to. The natural consequences they had been trying to avoid were doing exactly what they were designed to do. Force accountability. For the first time, my brother could not hide behind the phrase, "We will figure it out." There was no we. There was him, and the choices he had made. One evening, a few months after I left, my phone lit up with an unfamiliar number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something in my gut told me to answer. Hello? There was a pause, then a voice I knew too well. Hi, my brother said quietly. It is me. I leaned back against the wall, bracing myself. What do you need? For once, he did not sound angry, or demanding, or defensive. Just tired. I got a job, he said. That was not what I expected. Oh, at the warehouse out by the highway, he added. It is not great, but it is work. They said if I stick with it, I can move up. The pay is not enough to cover everything, but it is a start. That is good, I said carefully. I am glad you are working. I met with a financial counselor, he continued. They helped me set up a payment plan with the collectors. It is going to take years. My credit is shot. I will not be able to get an apartment on my own for a long time, or a car, or anything. I am sorry, I said, and I meant it. But I am glad you are facing it. He let out a humorless laugh. You were right. About everything. I kept thinking someone would bail me out again. That they would find a way. Mom still thinks it is unfair. She keeps saying, if you loved us, you would have signed. My stomach twisted. And you? Another pause. I think if you had signed, he said slowly, I would have kept doing exactly what I have always done, and you would have been dragged down with me. Silence stretched between us, thick with all the words we had never said. I am sorry, he added, voice cracking. Not just about the loan, about all of it. I knew they were using your fund. Maybe I did not know the exact numbers, but I knew. I let them. Because it was easier. Because every time they picked me, I told myself you would be fine. You always are, right? You are the strong one. You can handle it. He swallowed audibly. It took you leaving for me to realize you were not fine, he said. You were just quiet. Tears pricked my eyes. I am not asking you to forgive me, he said quickly, or to come back. I needed you to know I get it now, and that I am trying to fix myself, even if it is late. I rested my head against the wall, closing my eyes. I appreciate you telling me, I said. Really? But you are right. It is going to take time. A lot of it. And the fix has to come from you. I know, he said. I just wanted you to know I am not blaming you anymore. That alone felt like a small miracle. After we hung up, I sat there for a long time, thinking about how strange justice can look in real life. No dramatic arrests, no courtroom speeches, no grand confessions. Just a guy in steel-toed boots loading pallets for minimum wage, slowly paying back the money he had blown through like it meant nothing. My mom was harder. She called less often as the months passed, but when she did, her words were edged with a brittle mix of pride and desperation. You made your point, she said in one voicemail. You have your independence, your aid, your job. Are you happy now? Was I? Not in the fairy tale sense. Life was still hard. Money was still tight. I still worked late nights at the library and lived on instant noodles more often than I liked. But I woke up every morning knowing that whatever I had, or did not have, belonged to me. There was a quiet kind of happiness in that. The first time I saw my parents face to face again, almost a year had passed. We met at a coffee shop near campus, neutral ground. They looked older. My dad's hair was grayer. My mom's shoulders were hunched in a way I had never noticed before. There were deep lines around her mouth that had not been there the day she told me they had sold my car. For a moment, I almost did not recognize them as the same people. Hi, my dad said, standing awkwardly. You look good. I did not feel good, exhausted from exams and work, but I appreciated the effort. Thanks. We ordered drinks and sat down. The silence was heavy. How is school? My dad asked. Busy, I said. But good. I am on track to finish my degree. The aid office has been surprisingly helpful. I let the sentence hang there, a reminder without accusation. My mom stared into her coffee. We heard, she said finally, about the override, about the appeal. People talk. I told the truth, I said. If that makes you uncomfortable, maybe you should ask why. Her jaw tightened, then relaxed. There are things I would do differently, she admitted. The words seemed to cost her something. We felt cornered. Your brother was drowning. We panicked. We told ourselves you would understand, that you would forgive us, that you were resilient enough to take the hit. I was resilient enough to walk away, I said. There is a difference. She flinched. I lost a lot, I continued. My savings, my car, my trust. But I gained something too. Boundaries. A future that is mine, and I am not giving that up. We are not asking you to, my dad said quickly. We miss you. We would like to be part of your life again, if you will let us. I studied their faces. The old instinct to soften, to reassure, to take care of their feelings first flickered to life, and then faded. I am willing to have a relationship, I said slowly, but it will be on my terms. You do not get a say in my finances, my education, or where I live. There will be no more, we did it for your own good speeches, when what you really mean is, we did it because it was easier for us. If you cannot handle that, then this is as far as we go. My mom opened her mouth, then closed it again. For once, she did not argue. That is fair, my dad said quietly. I am not doing this to punish you, I added. I am doing it to protect myself. That might look like revenge from where you are sitting, but from where I am, it is survival. My mom's eyes shimmered. We were supposed to protect you, she said, and we failed. There it was. Not an excuse, not a deflection, an admission. It did not erase what they had done. It did not magically refill the account or give me back the years of feeling like a backup plan. But it was something I never thought I would hear. We talked for a while longer about classes, my job, my brother's work, the house they were thinking of selling because the mortgage and the collectors were too much. There were no hugs when we left, just a tentative nod, like we were all still learning how to exist in this new shape. On the way back to campus, I thought about the girl I had been on my 19th birthday, standing barefoot in the kitchen while my mother slid a loan agreement across the table and told me selling my car and draining my college fund was what family does. If I could speak to her now, I would tell her this. You are not selfish for refusing to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. You are not cruel for letting consequences land where they belong. You are not ungrateful for walking away from people who only love you when you are useful. Sometimes the most powerful revenge is not destruction. Sometimes it is refusing to be destroyed. I did not scream. I did not break anything. I did not sign away my future to save people who would not save me. I packed my bags. I walked out. And by the time the dust settled, the girl they thought would always say yes had become someone they had to ask permission from. If you have ever been told to sacrifice your dreams for someone else's mess in the name of family, ask yourself, who would actually fall apart if you stopped saying yes? Them or you? And what would happen if, just once, you decided to bet on yourself instead?